is Destination Newry. It is the morning programme. We're going out live across the planet, and I'm delighted to be joined by Catherine Fegan from Ulster Wildlife.
Hello, everyone.
Nice to see you.
Nice
Thanks
to
for
see
coming
you
up.
too.
You've come up to us this morning from where?
Well, I'm from Downpatrick, so I've done a wee tour up around St. Fegan and then made my way down to Newry.
You're so welcome. Tell us about Ulster Wildlife. We know about the RSPB. We have a notion about Ulster Wildlife. Who are you? What are you? What do you do?
Well, I've been working for Ulster Wildlife for the last 5 weeks, so I'm probably not the best person to tell you exactly what we do.
What drew you to them, I think?
Ulster Wildlife is a great organisation. We're linked in with the wildlife trusts across the UK.
Yeah.
And we're quite a community-based wildlife charity. So, RSPB, Ulster Wildlife, we're all kind of doing the same
family.
Same aim in mind. Yeah, definitely.
Now, we're talking this morning about barn owls because sadly, the magnificent creature that is the barn owl is under some threat.
Absolutely, yeah.
Define that threat.
Well, the barn owl populations have been dropping since the 1930s, so agricultural intensification has played a part in that.
Yeah.
But we used to have about 250 breeding pairs in Northern Ireland, and we reckon that's down to the last estimate was 30 to 55 pairs. And we've had a couple of bad runs in the weather and breeding season, so we reckon that's probably
What
even
is the
lower.
breeding season?
Breeding season, they'll be starting to, they'll have paired up by now, they'll be thinking about laying eggs, and then they'll be getting their brood out. So, I mean, we know they can brood quite late in Northern Ireland. I think there's been a brood fledged in October. So that's pretty late, but that could have been a second brood. So, basically it's the July-August months that we focus on.
What kind of creature is the barn owl? He's the fellow with a flat face.
Yes, the heart-shaped face.
The heart-shaped face.
The pretty owl. The barn owl is the most beautiful
He's
owl.
the pretty owl.
He's the pretty owl. He's the lovely white owl. He's got that lovely buff colouring on the feathers on the back.
Tell it to a field mouse.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Field mice are very pretty too.
There he goes.
Lovely animals.
Yeah. So listen, the barn owl is under some threat. What's his life in the course of a day? What does he do all day?
Well, during the day, pretty much sleeps. And then they'll come out to hunt at dusk and at dawn. So that's the time when you're most likely to see them. And that's what Ulster Wildlife is asking everybody in Northern Ireland, if they think they've seen a barn owl, to contact us with their sighting, because it's very important for us to get a handle on exactly where they are.
You have special boxes for them that you put out around the country.
Yeah, you can put up nest boxes. We would work with landowners and other community groups to put up nest boxes. We've worked with the Ring of Gullion down this way.
Yes,
so,
of course.
They have a red squirrel conservation group who have agreed to put it under their constitution, some of the barn owl objectives of this project that they can then take forward. And in return, we'll provide them with equipment that they can use for the barn owl project and use for red squirrel work in the area too. So, I mean, we tend to try and work with the local people to put up nest boxes to make sure it's in the appropriate place. Ideally, we would like to know of a nesting pair that we could then put up nest boxes around to encourage the population to grow and spread out from that area.
When the young fledge, at what stage do they start looking around to build their own homes?
Well, they wait until the next breeding season, so it
takes
1 year
to the next.
Yeah,
they fledge 1 year, and year 2 they're then building their new community.
In fact, across the water, they're thinking that perhaps because of the prolonged cold spring we had last year, that some of the new barn owls will not reach breeding maturity until later on in the season. So they may have a later breeding season across there. We don't know whether we had any successful fledgling chicks last year, so that may be the case for us. We're just not sure.
Is the barn owl untouchable in terms of prey? The bird of prey will hover and come. What can take a barn owl out? Because I'm assuming the sparrowhawk and the falcon, the peregrine falcon, they're not out at night when the barn owl is out.
No, it's got its own kind of niche, definitely. No, what takes the barn owl out, unfortunately, is ourselves. So I think that's possibly a problem that's bigger across the water, but road fatalities are a problem because barn owls will fly along road verges, particularly motorway verges, and because there's no hedging or trees, they'll just fly straight across. Whereas if there are tall trees, they'll fly up over those tall trees and avoid the lorries or the fast traffic that's moving on the road.
I saw the most awful situation once, and I could do nothing about it, on the dual carriageway going to Warren Point from Newry. I'm driving along where it's a busy road. There's 2 lanes of traffic. The traffic's moving at certainly 60 and above. And I saw it happening. I saw it coming. I saw the ducks coming with the duck leading the youngsters out across the road. Out they came. There was feathers everywhere. I managed to pull in then, went back and have a look, and honest to goodness, it was mayhem.
Yeah.
Totally wiped out.
Unfortunately, they just don't know not to cross roads,
honest
and
to
they don't.
goodness. Same with the barn owl.
They don't see borders, they don't see
true.
roads, they don't
true.
see anything.
Same with the barn owl.
Yeah, same with the barn owl. Definitely.
How does he hunt, the barn owl? Tell me about
He's got
his
amazing hearing, so
Yeah.
he can hunt in complete darkness.
Wow.
So it uses their hearing. They've actually got their ears, the openings to their ears are not symmetrical. They're not at the same
Wow.
level, so they're like that.
Nothing gets
and
away.
that means that their face is shaped like a bowl, so it pulls in
wow,
all the
it's like a
sound.
radar.
And then they can hone in on exactly where, I mean, they feed on small mammals, so it'll be field mice and shrews that they'll be looking for, and they can hear them rustling about in the grass.
So they wait,
Yes.
and they look,
Yes, they
and
hover.
they stand by,
Yeah.
and then they'll take off.
Yeah.
Do they hover before hitting?
They can. I mean, we call it quartering, what their typical behaviour is. It's called quartering, so that's, going across the field, making sure that they don't miss anything and listening out for anything. They will, in cold weather, or when they're trying to conserve energy, they will perch on a post and listen out and then fly on and perch on another post. So that's something that we can work with landowners as well. If we feel barn owls are about, that they can put up posts. It's a relatively inexpensive thing. It's something people are happy to do, and it helps them to hunt in the winter.
Do the landowners welcome them?
Yeah, barn owls are known as farmers' friends. I mean, barn owls have spread across the world with farming. That's why they're here, and because they take the small mammals. If before biosecurity was so tight, farms would have been a little bit perhaps looser. There would have been a bit more grain lying around, a lot more rodents about. So the barn owl was known as the farmer's friend because it's like having a good cat, a good hunting cat. Or my dad has a couple of Jack Russell Terriers that do well on his farm. So similar kind of thing. And they followed. Barn owls have followed us across the world.
It's very funny that, because in Africa, the omole is a gecko, and omole in the native Hausa language means son of the house.
Oh, yeah.
Son of the house, because he does everything that's good.
Yes.
He captures the creatures that you don't want in the house. So the omole, the son of the house, comes in and takes them. Similar to the barn owl.
No, and there's a very similar kind of feeling. Anybody I speak to in Northern Ireland, children know barn owls from school. They're very. It's an iconic species. It's very recognisable, and people do feel like they've got a link to it and an attachment to it. And farmers are the same.
Yeah. What kind of terrain do they inhabit?
Well, they prefer open countryside. So
open countryside.
Our kind of upland areas in Northern Ireland are the only places where you're not likely to see them, and they won't hunt through dense woodland. Unlike other birds, they prefer the open countryside.
Yeah.
They will nest in trees. They will nest in mature trees.
A barn owl nest. Describe it to me.
Pretty smelly.
Oh, it would be, yeah.
But what they need is somewhere really dry. I mean, barn owls, they hate to get wet. Their feathers are designed for the silent flight, so they're soft feathers. They hate to get wet, so it needs to be a dry place. So a cavity in a tree, it can be really, really deep into a cavity in a tree. One of our nesting sites, we think, is probably about 6 foot deep from the cavity into the trunk of the tree. So really, really deep.
It's pretty cozy.
Yeah, very cozy. Or, the name, the barn owl, they nest in barns or derelict buildings. Again, there needs to be good access for them. They like to go in high, but then they will nest low, so long as their entrance and exit is high. So at least 2 meters high. So often on a farm, they'll go for the tallest building. The 2-story derelict farm building is probably their preference. They'll nest in chimneys as well. So anywhere they can find that has a high entrance and exit and is dry inside and relatively quiet.
You mentioned their hearing. What about their sight?
Yeah, their sight's pretty good too.
Really?
But it's their hearing that they use when they're hunting, because they're out in darkness. Sight isn't just such an important factor.
And is their whole day concentrating on feeding and procreating?
Well, their day is their night. We know that they tend to be most active at dawn and dusk, so they will spend time on the nest in between.
Yeah.
So
how do you keep track of them? You were able to tell me there's so many pairs now. There were so many pairs 10 years ago. How do you know that these pairs exist?
Well, they are the most notorious species to survey for. They're so difficult because you could stand in the same field for 10 years at the right time of night and never see a barn owl go past, even if you knew they were in the area. So what we are doing is asking people to contact us with their sightings. What that allows us to see, I pin those on a map that I have on my computer. That allows me to see what I call barn owl hotspots. And then what we will do is we will send out our volunteer surveyors to go out in August time. And we will give them 2x2 tetrads in
2x2?
2x2, 2 kilometre by 2 kilometre areas that they are going to go out and survey. And basically we will ask them to knock on doors first, so speak to people living in that area. Have you seen a barn owl? Try and narrow down in that area, and then you look for signs of barn owls. You don't look for the barn owls themselves. You're looking for their pellets. Owls
they tend to be hard, do they?
Yeah, it depends how long. If they've been sitting out, they'll start to disintegrate. So, you know, barn owl pellets are quite distinctive because they're full of fur and bones. Because
they take the bones down as well.
Yeah, the bones come out in the pellets as well. So you'd be looking for that, and we'd be looking for whitewashing, which is where they poop on the side of the house or the wall as you go as they go in, or under a tree, and look out for some feathers as well. So basically that's the signs that we'd be looking for, and that allows us to hone in on where they possibly are nesting. It could just be a roosting site, but that allows us to monitor the barn owls a bit better. If we have actual known nesting sites, we can then have an idea of what's happening in the population.
So as far as Ulster wildlife's concerned, how vulnerable are they at the moment?
Well, I mean, my personal feeling is that we're at a very critical point for barn owls. We've had a terrible last couple of years. You remember last year, like there was snow lying on the ground in the end of March in some parts of the country.
Yes, that's true.
Barn owls simply can't get to their prey if there's snow on the ground. You know, those small mammals aren't going to be out and under cover. They're going to be keeping themselves warm, trying to stay alive themselves. So we know that there's the potential. There tends to be a population drop in the winter anyway with barn owls dying because of starvation. So we think that that was probably quite high last year. The year before that, we know that the year looked like it was going well. They were laying eggs, chicks were hatching, and then we got a really wet summer. And as I've said, barn owls can't fly when it's raining. They're not silent anymore, so they can't hunt when it's raining. They can't hunt efficiently. And so we know that some chicks starved on the nest the summer before that.
I suppose too, if they've got soft feathers, will those soft feathers absorb the moisture and make them heavier?
Yeah. If they get wet enough, then they cannot fly at all.
My goodness gracious. Now, that's a danger time for them.
Yeah.
When they're, quite apart from not being able to feed, there are creatures who would want to take barn owls out.
Well, I suppose, like any creature will take the opportunity when it's there. Particularly, I mean, if barn owls are having a hard winter, then other birds and other creatures are going to be having a hard winter too. So yeah, I mean, they become vulnerable in that way. But also, I mean, rodenticide's also a bit of an issue because that weakens the barn owl even further. Yeah. So if we're putting like rat poison,
how does that use? It's in it's for killing rats.
Yeah, it's usually for killing rats. You know, obviously we need to use it. We can't have rat populations around our dwellings. That's obvious. So we have linked up with CREW, which is a campaign for rodenticide, responsible rodenticide use. Thinkwildlife.org is their website. So we've linked up with them to try and educate people on how to use rodenticides and cause them minimal impact, because obviously a barn owl is picking up many mice through the night. Those toxins build up in their systems, and even if it doesn't kill the barn owl, I mean, I know when I was expecting children, you had to avoid everything in case you impacted on yourself or your growing child. It's exactly the same for the barn owl. If they're not hunting efficiently because they've got this poison in their system, then they're not going to be as successful in breeding as we would like them to be. So it's something to keep in mind too for anybody who is using rodenticides, to just check that they're following the guidelines and making sure that they're doing it with as minimal impact as possible.
Yeah, it's difficult enough.
It is difficult,
you know, if you put bait out, creatures are going to pick it up.
Yeah, they are.
What about other species? What about buzzards, for example? How are they doing?
Well, they seem to be doing quite well, don't they? I certainly see plenty about the countryside. I don't know. I don't have any figures on buzzards. That's just my general feeling.
I remember it so well 3 years ago, coming down to Warren Point on the dual carriage. When there he was standing outside the gates of Narrow Water. He was about the size of a large hen or a small turkey. And the feathers are down, like the wings are down. He's looking at me, and he's in the middle of the bloody road. I'm saying you're going to be. And I pulled in and went over to him, and it was clearly something was wrong with him.
Right. Okay.
Perhaps rodenticide.
Yeah. Perhaps. Yes.
And I knew. I bring my coat over. I lock the car. Bring my coat over. Walk towards him. He can't see me, but he flies. I eventually trap him against the fence at the other side of the road. Wrap him in the coat.
Yes.
and then back to the car to take him to the house, put him in a cage, check him out, then take him to the vet. Get back to the car, and I realised I'd put the keys of the car into the pocket of the coat, and the pocket of the coat is beside his, and I'm going in to get this here out. So I eventually get it out, and I get him up and all that, and took him to the vet. And goodness gracious, the vet thought it best to put him down.
Right, okay.
Which wasn't the right thing, it turned, because the vet didn't know an awful lot about them.
Yeah, and
Jim
it's postmortems that'll tell you whether it's been poison or rodenticides that's affected them.
Jim Wells, who's the chair of the Raptor group at Stormont, or he was then, he said to me, "Oh, Rowan," he said, "if you'd told me, all you need to do is leave it for 24 hours in the dark, keep it warm." And that was probably poison, and it would have worked its way through, you know, which was the thing.
Yeah, so, I know it is. It's difficult to know what to do.
So I've got a lovely photograph of my buzzard on my phone. And that's it. The other thing, and it was out your country as well, I was travelling on the road to, not to Ardlass, to St John's Point, to the lighthouse.
To the lighthouse.
And there's an ancient church halfway down.
Yes, I know it well. My mother grew up there.
There you are. Well, I'm driving down in my car, heading for the lighthouse, and my windows are open. It's a beautiful summer day, and I'm suddenly aware of a presence with me. And I look through the frame of the passenger window, and I see a bird the size of a, I think it was a sparrow. It could have been a sparrow. You can tell me what it was. It was like a sparrowhawk or whatever. It was flying along, and in its talons, it had a little mouse. So I was witnessing the last moments of the mouse. It was flying along, keeping pace with me, and it was only for maybe 10 seconds. But it felt like 30 seconds. I was in the company of this going along. That was just
if you're ever lucky enough to see a barn owl or any owl in the countryside, you know, it really is. You feel like you're stepping into another world. It's their world at that time of night. It's not yours.
Oh, indeed so.
It's a lovely experience.
So you grew up around that part of the world?
Yes. I grew up in.
Privileged to grow up around there.
Definitely. I mean,
you look out to sea and you see Guns Island, and then you look across to Peel in the Isle of Man.
You can always see Scotland and the Isle of Man from the coast along there on a good day.
How do people get involved with Ulster Wildlife?
You can get involved in many ways. I mean, visit our website, ulsterwildlife.org, and it has an entire section on things you can do. So you can volunteer.
We'll tell them again, ulsterwildlife.org.
Yes. So we have an entire section on things you can do. So you can volunteer with us, you can join up and be a member. That gives us great support. And obviously there's a two-way communication thing there, so you really can make an impact. In terms of the Barn Owl project, again, we've got plenty of people volunteering, so if anybody's interested in surveying for us this year, again, get in contact. You can do that through the website. We also have a Twitter account for the Barn Owl project, so if you want to just keep in touch with what we're doing, it's at Barn Owls NI, and that'll keep you in touch through the year, sort of what we're doing, and perhaps give you an update on the survey in autumn, winter time. So many ways that you can get involved.
Well, we're going to send you the link to this interview. You'll put that on your website,
we'll put that on our website too,
And let it be known that Destination Newry supports Ulster Wildlife.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, the Barn Owl project is funded by the Heritage Lottery Fund. And part of the objectives, it's very much community-based, and it's very much working with landowners and general community groups throughout Northern Ireland to get them doing stuff for the Barn Owl themselves. You know, we're only one or two people in the office. We can't cover the entire of Northern Ireland. It's the people out there who can do the rest.
We're a family of carers. That's what we have to be for them.
Exactly.
So we're going to say farewell to people now. Shall we do that?
We will do that.
And it's Barn Owls forever. You've been with us all morning, from 7:30 this morning. People tuning in, logging on right across the world. And I've been talking to Catherine Fegan of Ulster Wildlife. It's been great.
Send in your sightings.
Send in your sightings.
There's a sightings form on the website.
On the website.
You can email. You can
ulsterwildlife.org. Send in your sightings. That's what you must do.
Absolutely.
And go well wherever you are in the world. We're going to play you some music now shortly. But we wish you to go well, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much, Rowan.
And as my African friends would tell you, whenever you've done your best, and feel you've not quite made it, but you've done your best and you can do no more, don't sweat the small stuff. Chill, take it easy, and lay your head in your hand and leave the rest to God. And be happy, and take happy with you wherever you go. So we'll talk to you again in the morning, and we'll run this again next week as well, which will
Great.
be nice to do. All the best to you. Cheerio.
Nice to meet
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Barn Owls forever. Take care.